I never intended to become anyone's champion. I was a freight pilot, nothing more. A long-haul hauler running dull contracts between indifferent stars. My ship, the Dust Wake, smelled of metal fatigue and old coffee. My biggest concerns were fuel margins and whether my navigation AI was lying to me again. I wasn't a soldier, a noble, or anything remotely important. Then I landed on Varelia. Varelia was one of those worlds that looked calm from orbit. Blue oceans, green continents, a shining silver capital. But beneath the serenity lived a civilization older than human agriculture, proud and rigid as diamond. The Varelians were tall, silver-skinned, luminous-eyed, and obsessed with ritual honor. Their society functioned like a maze of ceremonial obligations, unspoken rules, and duels. I only came because a trade consortium paid triple rates to deliver a crate of medical nanites to the capital. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. The problem started at customs. A crowd had gathered in the grand landing hall, where light filtered through crystalline arches. I stood in line, bored, when I noticed her. She was Varelian, taller than me by a head, draped in white gold silk armor. Her hair shimmered like starlight caught in glass. But it was her eyes that struck me. Calm, sharp, intelligent, and furious. Across from her stood another Varelian male, wrapped in dark ceremonial armor. His posture screamed arrogance. His voice carried across the hall. "You will accept the union, Lady Serelith. Your father's vow binds you." Serelith's jaw tightened. "I am not a prize to be claimed." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. This was serious. I should have walked away. Instead, the man turned, spotted me, and pointed. "Outworlder," he barked. "Witness this declaration. By Varelian law, any witness must affirm that the vow stands uncontested." Every head turned toward me. I blinked. I don't know your laws." A murmur of scandal spread. The male's eyes gleamed. "Then you challenge tradition itself. If you deny the vow's legitimacy, you must prove your claim through ritual combat." I laughed. "You want me to fight you? I'm a cargo pilot." Serelith's eyes widened. "Do not speak carelessly, human. Once invoked, the right of claim cannot be refused." My stomach sank. The crowd closed in. The male smiled like a predator. "By refusing to affirm the vow, you challenge me. Should you win, the lady is free of the vow. Should you fall," his grin sharpened, "she becomes mine." I turned to Serelith. "Is there another way out of this?" Her voice was quiet. "No." I considered running, but the guards had already sealed the hall. So that was how I, Daniel Reyes, professional transporter of medical crates, accidentally entered a duel for the hand of an alien noblewoman. They gave me a day to prepare, which was ridiculous. I had no armor, no sword, and no clue how Varelian dueling worked. Serelith visited me in a guest chamber overlooking silver forests. "You are not obligated to do this," she said. "If you yield before the duel, you will live." "And you'll be forced into marriage," I said. "Yes," she replied simply. I leaned back on the bench. "Yeah. No. That doesn't sit right with me." Her luminous eyes softened. "You would fight a noble warrior for a stranger's freedom?" "I've met enough tyrants in the galaxy," I said. "Don't feel like helping another one win." For the first time, she smiled. Just a little. "Then we must train." Varelian duels were fought with energy-lanced polearms, blades of plasma anchored to crystal shafts. They favored sweeping arcs, elegance, precision, grace over brutality. Unfortunately for them, humans evolved persistence hunting, violent adaptability, and an unshakable belief that rules were suggestions. Serelith trained me in the forms, but I kept improvising. You must keep your stance open, she instructed. I widened it. Like this. No, narrower. I ducked under a simulated strike and shoulder-checked her. She stumbled, laughing in surprise. That would be dishonorable, she said. Only if I lose, I answered. She stared at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Humans are terrifying. Yeah, I said. We know. By the final night, I could barely hold the pole arm without shaking. But I'd learned something more valuable. Varelians respected patterns. Predictable, ritualized combat. They expected opponents to behave within tradition. Humans did not. The arena was an open terrace above a city of crystal towers. Thousands gathered. The sky burned violet with twin suns. My opponent entered in dark armor, blade humming with lethal light. He bowed with mock courtesy. Seralith stood on a high platform, hands clasped. I caught her gaze. Don't die, it said. I lifted my borrowed armor and stepped forward. The gong rang. He moved like flowing water, blade arcing toward my head. I barely dodged, heart hammering. His second strike burned past my ribs. I smelled scorched fabric. I swung clumsily. He parried easily, laughing. Human, he said, circling. You disgrace the right. Yield. I wiped sweat from my brow. Nah. He lunged. I tripped backward, intentionally, rolling under his sweeping strike. The crowd gasped. No one did that in ritual combat. I slammed the butt of my polearm into his knee. Armor cracked. He hissed in pain. He retaliated with a vicious overhead blow. I raised my weapon too late. The impact sent electricity racing through my arms. I staggered. He pressed the advantage, elegant and lethal. I realized then, if I played by his rules, I would lose. So I didn't. I threw my polearm aside. The crowd erupted in shock. Seralith's eyes widened in horror. My opponent froze, baffled. You abandon your weapon? I charged him. Humans might not glow silver or live for centuries, but we knew how to brawl. I ducked under his next strike, grabbed his armored waist, and drove him into the marble floor. The arena roared in disbelief. He struggled, stronger than steel, but I wrapped my arms around his blade shaft and yanked. The energy blade burned my shoulder. I smelled flesh. I screamed and kept pulling. With a final wrench, I ripped the weapon free and flung it away. Silence fell. I stood, scorched and shaking, blood running down my arm. My opponent lay stunned, weaponless. I placed my boot on his chest. Yield, I said. His pride fought it, but Varelian law was absolute. Weapon lost. Opponent standing. He closed his eyes. I yield. The gong rang again. Victory. The crowd erupted, half cheering, half stunned into reverent silence. Seralith descended the steps. Her voice rang clear. By right fulfilled, the vow is broken. I am free. She turned to me. And by tradition, she said, the victor may claim a boon from the one they freed. Every Varelian present leaned forward. The implication was clear. Marriage. I raised my hands quickly. Whoa. No. I didn't fight for a reward. I fought so you could choose your own path. Her eyes widened. Something bright flickered behind them. You would refuse the claim? Yeah, I said. I think you deserve a choice. That's all. The arena went utterly silent. Then Seralith smiled, radiant as sunrise. A human who understands freedom, she said softly. Then hear my choice. She stepped forward and placed her hand on my scarred shoulder. I choose to walk beside the one who fought without claiming me. If you will have me. I blinked. Well, that escalated quickly. Weeks later, I stood aboard the Dustwake, repairs finished, cargo ready. Sarilith walked beside me, no longer bound by white gold armor, but simple travel attire. A traveler. A free being. You are certain? I asked. My world is bound by tradition, she said. But the stars are wide. I wish to see them. I grinned. Fair warning. My ship is held together by stubbornness and duct tape. She tilted her head. I have seen you fight. I fear nothing. The ramp closed. Engines hummed. We lifted from Varelia into the velvet dark. I looked out at the stars and laughed quietly. I came to deliver medical supplies. I left with an alien noblewoman, a burned shoulder, and the title of Honor Breaker of Varelia. Humanity's reputation would spread from this day forward. We do not bow to tyrants. We do not follow rules written to cage the unwilling. And sometimes, we win duels we never meant to enter. The Dustwake broke atmosphere with a familiar rattle. Warning lights blinked. One panel sparked. My ship was as graceful as a falling toolbox, but it flew. Sarilith stood beside me at the viewport as Varelia shrank below. The silver world glimmered like a jewel of rigid tradition, ancient law, and unmoving expectation. I have severed my place there, she said quietly. You won your place, I corrected. You just chose to use it. She turned luminous eyes toward me. On my world, strength is measured by elegance, by adherence to form. Today, I learned another truth. What's that? That willpower is its own weapon, and humans wield it with terrifying abandon. I chuckled, flexing my bandaged shoulder. Yeah, we're bad at giving up. Silence lingered, not uncomfortable, but vast, like the stars ahead. Then a chime echoed through the ship. Incoming transmission. The holographic projector flickered to life. A Varelian counselor appeared, robes heavy with authority. Daniel Reyes, the figure said, voice resonant. By decree of the High Conclave, you are henceforth recognized as Honor Breaker of Varelia, a title granted only to those who shatter unjust tradition through trial by right. Sarilith's eyes widened. The counselor continued. Know this. Already the young speak of your duel. Already questions are asked. Already cracks form in ancient stone. The image faded. I leaned back in my chair. So, I accidentally started a cultural revolution. Sarilith allowed herself a soft laugh. It seems so. I stared at the stars. Guess humanity just introduced Varelia to the concept of maybe the rules are stupid. She stepped closer, resting a hand lightly over mine. I chose to walk with you, she said. Not as prize. Not as obligation. As equal. I met her gaze. Then welcome aboard the worst ship in 3 sectors. I have witnessed your species wrestle plasma-armed nobles barehanded, she replied serenely. I believe I will survive. The engines roared. The Dustwake leapt into hyperspace. Starlight stretched into infinite lines. Somewhere behind us, an ancient world reconsidered its laws. Somewhere ahead, unknown galaxies waited. And somewhere in between, a human freight pilot and a silver-skinned warrior stepped into a future neither had planned, but both had chosen. Final line. In a galaxy ruled by tradition, humanity's greatest weapon was never strength or technology. It was the refusal to accept chains, even golden ones.